Hey, what's doing? It's me, Nico.
And I'm TK.
And that makes this X's for Comics, where we're here, we're talking about comics, we're having a great time. We're doing this thing. It's a project. It's really exciting. We're covering all of the Marvel DC crossovers ever, and they're just making it easier for us. They're just setting us up for victory here. So often us humans, we set ourselves up for failure, but Marvel, in their infinite inability to really get it right with promotion, has tapped into what we're doing. And they're getting it right. I'm really pleased, for one, that they are out of nowhere treating the thing like we do, like these crossovers matter.
Apparently to the point that James Gunn and the Russos are meeting.
Yeah, and so I keep having thoughts about this, and we made a comment, I guess like even 3 years ago now, that maybe this is where we got ahead. Maybe this is where everything has to go.
This is what we have left.
And we've kind of on and offed this. We've sort of talked about this here and there. But one of the things that I kind of feel like we have not had an opportunity to talk about is what the fans want from it. Because something that I'm really getting from this project, and not just from the crossover project parts, but like, man, do I have some interesting criticisms about this Green Lantern run and some interesting criticisms about this Fantastic Four run. And I feel it's Fantastic Four run. I can't figure it out because it feels like One World Under Doom is something you're supposed to read to be like, oh, I can read anything going on in the Marvel Universe and I know what's going on. Yeah. And then it's supposed to be able to like tie into the movies, and then it can't.
No, it's nothing.
So how are you feeling with where we're at this project? We're like a month into it. I feel like we're doing a beautiful job. I feel like no one's ever been quite as glorious as we are here.
No, definitely not.
No, yeah. I mean, we're really bringing beauty to a new level. We are Amazewa and Gorgewa, and Stunwa. But no, I guess I'm vamping because that's the most we're going to talk this whole episode. There's just not as much to talk about.
Yeah, we can drag on some initial thoughts. I mean, like, I do think that it's funny when you think about the idea of a movie crossover at this point, because when we're talking about like how many years of character ideas and canon both Marvel and DC Studios films have gone through, we're into the 90s. Like, everybody has tried all original Iron Man concepts, all the early Iron Man concepts, all the early Cap concepts.
Every way you can do Zod.
Yeah. So like, we're into the point where the crossover makes sense. But at the same time, DC's first incarnation of their film universe is terrible. Is just a mess. So like, they and Superman has proven to be popular, I guess. I'm still not really clear on that one, but it seems to be going well, and they've got a bunch of other movies to come out, so they potentially don't need to go right into a Marvel crossover. Marvel sort of, on the one hand, could be at the end of their rope, except they just got Fantastic Four and X-Men back, and now they have to restart the entire universe to create one that has those properties integrated.
They kicked it off with One World Under Doom. If they said the phrase "the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men" all together one more time,
yeah, I know. I mean, so the comics are doing their thing, but in terms of the films, I could see amalgam ideas or DC versus Marvel ideas working, and it wouldn't be too different than how Marvel has been able to work with Sony to use Spider-Man, because for the purposes of film, Sony owns Spider-Man, and and Marvel just simply does not. For the purposes of a Marvel DC film, they own who they own, and they can figure out how to loan them out. And so I really, it's part of me thinks, yeah, just do it. Like, what does it matter? Like, let's just go for it. And part of me thinks like there's so much more you could do that don't do it for another 10 or 20 years and really figure your stuff out.
I mean,
And
test it in an animated universe.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Get on it.
Exactly.
Get amalgamating in animation right now.
Actually, that is exactly the correct answer. And similarly, just with the comics, this is no shade on our project, and I love our project, but like we have talked a lot about how maybe this is kind of something they need to get closer to because the comics just don't have anything left. And when I like take a step back, I'm like, oh, hey, Dildozer. Part of me is like, yeah, I think they're never going to do more interesting stuff in the comics. But sometimes I kind of think there's just so much more they could do before having to do crossover stuff. I just sort of think it's just never going to happen. And that's why I'm kind of like, just go for it.
I hear you. I just feel like there isn't so much more to do before the crossover stuff, though. I feel like they're not willing to, so they won't do it. I hear what you're saying, like that they want to, but like they won't. And so, like, I feel like the thing I'm excited about is that there is some open possibility to happen, that we're at a place where a whole lot of new things can happen. And it's so interesting because like I would have thought that by now, Superman and Fantastic Four would have had a crossover and then a box office weekend. But I think they had one in the late 90s that we're going to get to. Pretty excited. But today we're going to be talking about a ton of books that I am, I'm excited to talk about them even when they're frustrating. I'm excited to talk about the movies even when they're kind of frustrating, because that's the discourse, and that's kind of like what makes my brain work. And so we're going to be talking about the Green Lantern and Fantastic Four lines. It's so unusual that there's a Fantastic Four line, and we actually just talked about that in the bonus episode. So everybody head over to xis4podcast.com. Check out that bonus episode that just dropped this weekend. But today we're going to be talking about from Marvel Fantastic Four's relaunch in the Age of One World Under Doom. Also One World Under Doom numbers 1 through 5. We got Fantastic Four Into the Depths 1 through 6. We got Fantastic Four First Steps number 1. Herbie Infinity Comic 1 through 8. Green Lantern from DC, that line. We're looking at 20 through 25. Green Lantern Corps 1 through 6. Green Lantern Corps, not Corpse. Only corpses are dead. That's Black Lanterns. We got Green Lantern Dark, or as I like to call it, Wicked Fanfic 1 through 5. And then we have JSA 1 through 9. So we got a docket, and I am here to talk about it. Do you want to start with Marvel or DC? Where you want to get that phonometer going?
We usually start with Marvel, so
let's start with Marvel. I can't believe how many kiddie titles there are for the Fantastic Four right now. It is overwhelming. Herbie is cute, but it's not a whole Jeff. I can't believe I'm saying the talking robot is less interesting than the nonverbal shark, but the Herbie comic is a little thin.
Yeah, I mean, like, because Herbie is not Jeff. Like, Herbie has never been a big character. He's not Dupe. He's not one of the guys. He's never been like picked up by Machine Man and been like, hey, you're gonna come be part of the. Remember when they really briefly had the like robot Avenger, like all the Avengers that are cyborgs and robots? I was obsessed with that title. I'd reboot that in a second. They didn't grab Herbie.
It was Avengers AI.
Yeah. They didn't grab Herbie. Like, and that's the difference. He's more of a MacGuffin and a prop. And so yeah, there's not a lot there, but if that's making some kids happy, sure, absolutely. And especially like movie Herbie as a star. I could have used the extra half hour to just be movie Herbie. And hopefully somehow that will evolve into something. This book just doesn't have it now, which is fine.
It specifically felt like there wasn't enough. I read the first one and I said to myself, this is not going to support 8 issues.
Yeah.
And then I said to myself, okay, let me see what happens. And I read all 8. I think there's 2 issues of story here. Nathan Stockman, great guy, great writer, really enjoy a lot of the work. But how this feels like something they say, hey, but look, we give you this with your Marvel Unlimited, right? And it's cute. But like, you can't sell something to me as a perk, but then also say, hey, look, you get this for free. First of all, the art here was adorable. I think art like this should be focused more. Art like this should be showcased better. And I feel like this is a different style for Marvel. But the main thing with this title was, I feel like when I open this app, I don't understand what's like this and what's Into the Depths, which actually kind of felt like a real comic book. Like, Into the Depths could have just been published as the Fantastic Four Annual 2025, and it wouldn't have missed a beat.
Yeah, and I kind of don't understand why it wasn't.
I think because they're trying to say that the Infinity comics do matter, but then that's where you made a point. I want to say it was maybe 3 weeks ago in Teen Titans X-Men, where, like, Zatanna boots the house down was great, but was it canon? And then all of a sudden there's a Zatanna book that is canon. So, like, sometimes Black Label matters, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes general DC books kind of matter. Sometimes, like, it gets an Elseworlds title. It's too hard to be sure what matters and what doesn't, what counts and what doesn't. And so, like, It's Herbie was too thin to matter, so it shouldn't. But you could convince me that somebody is going to pull that into a crossover, and Roberta is going to die in a machine attack, and it's going to break Herbie's heart, and we're going to use that as emotional pathos, and we're going to really honor this book. And yet at the same time, I love Mole Man stories when they kind of fuck with your expectation of Mole Man. The best Mole Man story of all time is Mark Waid Daredevil numbers 4 through 6, volume 3. That's the best Mole Man story ever for my money. And it's because you don't expect it to be a dark romance. You don't expect it to be a story about dancing with ghosts, and it breaks your heart. And I feel so weird saying it, but, like, I think my Marvel read of the minute of this episode was Into the Depths. Like, it wasn't the world's best story, but it did what it needed to do as an annual. Like, I would have loved this to be an old school 64 pager with the table of contents in the front saying the different chapters.
Yeah, I see that. And I think you might be right insofar as for the Marvel books, this is the best one. The Infinity books are still in such a weird place. It's so much easier to wrap my head around them when it comes to X-Men, because there's always so many X-Men books, and there's always so many subtle little references that, like, to be an X-Men fan is to know of one issue that nobody else has read about your favorite character who's like Skin. And like Skin had like a few moments in early Generation X where he was like on his computer, and I always would like joke about his screen name, which I'm forgetting what it was now. But like, there's just little things like that about X-Men characters, and nowadays, like, most people barely know Skin. They don't know about like early Generation X issues. And so that's just like, for me. So the idea that there's a lot of like, people having Nature Girl stories and Nature Girl becoming Apocalypse Girl out of X-Men Green, that's fine. Like, that, if somebody chooses to use that, that's just like kind of obscure X-Men lore. It's a little tougher with the Fantastic Four, who usually only have one book. And so, you've read the Fantastic Four book, so but fewer people are going to have read this. And so if somebody ever references it, what are we going to do with that? Like, what are Fantastic Four fans going to do with that?
You know, it is one of the reasons that when you have the dichotomy that Marvel is trapped in, like for my money, this really highlights an extreme that we're stuck with. The Fantastic Four are challenged to do better than host one title at a time when there's 4 of them with a side cast that befits 4 people each having a rich side cast history and legacy. And yet then there's Spider-Man, one guy who gets to have 11 titles.
Yeah.
What? Like,
yeah, and then and has Infinity books as well.
It's so true. And then crossovers, and then like you get things like Spider-Man and the X-Men as an occasional ongoing-ish.
Yeah, or like, you know, we're doing a Spider-Man and Wolverine right now.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you have other spiders.
Oh, yeah. And that's where, like, I was actually going to say, I'm surprised that we don't have, like, a Spider Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that we don't have these other explorations of these ideas. I thought that this Mole Man story was really cute, really great. The art was fucking hot, man. Yeah. This art was killer. Yeah. I was drawn eagerly to the idea that Fantastic Four can support multiple titles right now. I don't know that it does, and the reason that I don't know that it does actually for me points at Fantastic Four #1. I love Ryan North as a writer, but this gentleman has now written 2 Fantastic Four #1s that keep the team apart.
Yeah, that's, I really didn't think of it like that.
What does he not want to put his best foot forward?
Yeah, well, so taking it back a little further, this exists because people went to the movies last week and Marvel wants them to be able to pick up Fantastic Four #1.
Wait, there was a movie last week? I wonder if 4 Handsome Gentlemen covered it, and perhaps it's available on this network.
What? None of us have a popcorn bucket to show for it, but it did happen.
Yeah, you know, I didn't get the popcorn bucket, and I don't regret it, but what I do regret is having not seen it a second time yet. Yeah. I just want to put out there that it is I'm going to put the F in F4 because I'm going to go for again.
So yeah, people went to see that movie and they wanted to make sure that a #1 was out. I get it. Like, I don't know. This is one of those ones where it's like, of course, you know, it's like when Die With a Smile has been out for a year and is already the biggest #1 ever. And then Lady Gaga puts it on the end of her album, even though it's like not really part of the album cycle, because it's just like, that's what the business is. And that's what you do. Like you put, of course you're going to put the biggest song on the album. You're just not going to miss.
When Lady Gaga does it, we think it's terrific, but when Katy Perry does it with the best Christmas song she'll ever write in her life,
oh my god, we're back to this. No,
look at this helium drinking nonsense monster.
No, it's not. Has nothing to do with her taking that action. We're just done with Katy Perry. Anyway, like it's okay. Nature of the industry. Of course, they're going to start a new #1, but they've known for years when this movie was coming out.
Yep.
They've known for years they're doing this crossover event. This just couldn't be a worse time to start a #1 because the crossover event is not over. And this is the next issue of the last series of the Fantastic Four.
Now, had you kept caught up on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, can you like wrap in a little bit of your feels on that? Because I have some feels too, and I would love to get yours as you wrap into this, like, you know, big wraparound joy.
I mean, I would be fascinated to know when he started submitting the scripts for all the One World Under Doom tie-in Fantastic Four things, because it just like, audience, if you don't know, and we're going to talk about One World Under Doom specifically in a bit, but I will tell you this part. Spoilers coming up for everything. We spoil a lot, so you should be okay with that, but here we go. And in the second issue, Doom uses his power to fix Ben Grimm's condition and turn him back into a human man with no powers. He doesn't get to keep the super strength, but he no longer has the rock body. And then within the pages of Fantastic Four, they all discover they are losing their powers. And so the last arc of the Fantastic Four comic that has One World Under Doom branding and tie-in branding is them trying to figure out how to get their powers back. And it's a perfectly whatever story. Like, it's first off, they keep like Doom is like, for the first time in RuPaul's Drag Race history, I'm healing Ben Grimm. Nope, Ben Grimm has absolutely been healed before. We all know this. Like,
stop lying.
This is kind of like the thing that I talked about, and I was like thinking about it while reading Green Lantern, where, you know, in the pages of it, Carol's like, this is the first time I've ever been Star Sapphire, really. It's so crazy. And I remember, like, they say that throughout the book. And the first time we talked about it, I was like, Nico, I'm pretty sure, like, just as a person that has, like, been pointing at Green Lantern from afar since the 80s, I'm 100% certain she has been Star Sapphire multiple times in the last 4 decades. So, like, the way they talk about it, like, this is really the first time she's doing it, is so silly.
It's full of lies.
It's full of lies. You did confirm that's correct. So it's the same thing with, you know, this big grandstanding about, like, I can't believe we finally fixed Ben. Like, no, like, it's happened before. He's never happy with it because then, of course, he can't do anything.
Yeah, then, of course, he can't help read.
Right. He's not a member of the Fantastic Four, which he would rather be, which in and of itself is an interesting storyline. Like, that's to tell that story, like the man who is wrestling with the fact that at the end of the day, he doesn't care about the disadvantages of his disability because the advantages of it matter more, but they make it difficult to live in the world. I mean, it's a fascinating thing. And people would rather write like, whoa, how are we going to get our powers back? Did we create the universe? Every writer forever, Jonathan Hickman, Ryan North, anybody ever who has written the Fantastic Four, stop letting these people create the universe. These are the worst. This is the worst family ever. Don't let them create I'm great. Sorry, that was my Maya doing share. Kevo said great voice work, so I just wanted to add that Maya doing share moment. Anyway,
that was realer than I was ready for.
That's just how I roll. So, like, I don't know. It's a really boring, unoriginal story. I'm sorry to say it. Like, it's a harsh criticism, but like, the bigger thing is it just doesn't need to happen at all because it's playing beside this enormous event that the One World Under Doom. Within the pages of it, the Fantastic Four are often there and fighting. So I'm confused where in the timeline things are taking place.
For sure.
Because when Fantastic Four #1 starts up, the first thing they do is go, we're fighting Dr. Doom, who has taken over the world.
And today we beat him.
And then they immediately get separated. So it just, like, they really want it to tie into One World Under Doom when they want it to, because Doom's origin and, like, original biggest enemies are the Fantastic Four. But also that seems like it's being really precious about the Fantastic Four, Doom, and Marvel continuity, because now Doom is just kind of everyone's villain. I don't even know who you would call, like, who's Thanos a villain to? Like, but I'm so glad that they were never precious about Thanos being like, well, my one true enemy is Star-Lord, or who, I know it's not Star-Lord, but like, you know, they were so lucky.
Adam Warlock.
Yeah, maybe, like, they were so lucky in both the comics and the movie to never pin him too close to any one entity. And with Doom, like, yeah, okay, he started as a Fantastic Four villain, but he has been everybody's villain at this point, and to constantly take it back to the Fantastic Four hobbles absolutely everybody. And you immediately see that the reason First Steps, the movie, works is because they are unshackled from Doom. And even if it turns, because we actually don't even know if they know Victor Von Doom in their universe, right? Like, there's one reference to Latveria. We don't know if the Victor Von Doom that you see, again, spoiler alert, sorry guys, in the post credit sequence, we don't know if that's their Doom, if that's a multiversal Doom and they've
That
never
could
met
just-
it.
That could just be a D&D player.
Yeah, we have no idea who it is. But so like that movie never associates them too closely with Doom, and that's really good for that movie. And ultimately, it will be great for the franchise because Avengers Doomsday will just be about everybody hating Doom, the way that Jason Aaron's Avengers run was. Like that Doom was for everybody. He was not for the Fantastic Four. There's not a Fantastic Four member in that run.
Agreed.
So, you know, everything in this orbit right now that we're discussing in the comics is hampered by the idea that Doom is a Fantastic Four villain.
And, you know, it kind of has to be because that's the pitch. That's the setup, whether they actually execute it or not. That was the goal. You know, I really agree with you that the separation of these two Fantastic Four runs is not there. It bleeds a little too cleverly. It runs a little too fluidly. I'm not sold by it, and it does feel like it's just the next issue. But I often wonder, when these guys turn in these runs, was One World Under Doom originally Fantastic Four Under Doom? Was it like a minor pitch he had for an arc, and his run hinged on that 6 issues, and then it turned into this, and so now it's had to be a year? I will say that the time since Blood Hunt feels like a lost time. This Blood Hunt into, and you know what, I'm gonna say something a little ugly. Jed McKay is not Mark Millar, and well, thank God, but you know, and Ryan North isn't Bendis, and I don't mean those as insults, but like, this is a new generation of crossover writers. Marvel never lets new generations of crossover writers in, so this is a lot of new people doing the heavy lifting, and it's not that it's not good, because I'm actually going to say that One World Under Doom was also almost my best book of the month.
Yeah, it's actually it is shockingly better than I thought it was,
because we are literally going in with the conceit that Dr. Doom is a monster fuck up who is going to drop the ball. We are not going in with the misbegotten notion, like, because the big problem I'm having is Thor. This Thor thing isn't selling me. I feel that's a little thin. That's a little foolish.
Can I tell you my thing?
Yeah, I mean, if I can finish saying why.
Yeah.
I get that he even sees that Odin is a great leader for Asgard, but he has literally said that Odin would be a terrible leader for the Avengers before. He has literally made the comment that there is no version of Midgard that could ever be led like a version of Asgard. He has said that a war mentality has literally ruined his people, and that is why they'll never know happiness, peace, or justice. So the fact that he would say that maybe in a lifetime of damnation and discomfort and war is what the Earthlings deserve, under a guy who he knows literally murders children to get his way, really, to me, feels like not Thor.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. What really frustrated me was that got to the crux of something that, like, basically, I kind of wish that it was the Fantastic Four making that point. Like this would be interesting to me if somebody, and kind of more like this was almost Civil War 3, and kind of half the people were like, I don't know, the world is like
Civil War 3, Electric Doomaloo. Yes.
Yeah, like the thing is, like, there is an attempt at the conceit that Doom is actually doing a lot of good and not really a lot of bad, and that the world is just like, the thing that goes unsaid a lot of the time is the world is a terrible place, and Doom is not enacting fascism. So if you can feed hungry children, and only one guy can do it, and he is just trying to like give it to you, you do it. Like, you feed the hungry children. This is the same thing as, like, you know, if there's a genocide happening, if children are dying, you just stop killing the children. It doesn't matter what it takes to do that. You stop
killing the children.
Well, I mean, it's Israelis, but you stop, and that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm talking about. Sorry. and you fucking figure everything else out later, but you stop fucking killing children. And that it keeps coming up that like Doom is doing this stuff and not really doing a lot of bad, but no heroes are really swayed. So it's kind of boring because we start with the heroes being like, no, we're absolutely not breaking on Doom. And it's been 5 issues where they're just like, nope. We're fighting. And then Maria Hill comes at the end of issue 5 and is like, I've got the smoking gun. Of course you do. Of course Doom was always going to be wrong. Of course we were never going to keep doing this. What would actually make this interesting is if a bunch of people were like, no, we probably should do this. And, it was somebody like Reed who was like, you know what? I am not better than this man. I know he has done a lot of terrible stuff, but he is actually healing the world. I have not been able to provide you better solutions. If he fucks up, we can resist him. But for now, he is taking care of everybody, and he's feeding the poor, and he's educating people. And I haven't managed to do that. That's a much more interesting story to me. And it's like half there. And you are absolutely right that Thor would be one of the people who is like, I see that he's doing all those things, but he's still not right to lead your nation, your world. And I know this because I know a man who is right to lead my world and not right to lead your world. I think you're 100% right about Thor is the exact wrong person to be doing that. And it kind of, I don't care what Thor thinks about a single thing. It's not, that's not, everybody's like, that issue all it hinges around people being like, I can't believe Thor's saying this. Like Thor, who's just such a thinker and such a world stage politician. No, I don't really care. If Reed said it, if Sue and Reed were fighting about it, that's an interesting hook to me. I don't care what, and I just don't care what Thor thinks. And you're right that it would be the wrong opinion for Thor to have in the first place. So there's other interesting stuff here, but I think especially because it's going on a little long.
Yeah.
The fact that at no point does it feel like the status quo. It feels like an attack that is constantly being repelled. But what would make it really interesting is if it felt like, and then the Marvel Universe settled into this and a lot of great stuff happened, but maybe we started to see little cracks and weird little things. And the Dormammu idea actually wasn't even a bad one. But again, it's just like, I don't know. This is a bummer because there's a bunch of good here, but it is still just doing a Marvel crossover that's like going on a little long. And in some ways that's harder to digest than like Blood Hunt just not being that great.
It's so funny because I completely validate, verify, and agree with everything you're saying. I only want to take it a step further. I think that Reed is the smartest man in the world. And the reason he hasn't solved those problems is because they can't be solved. And that is the situation when you've got a world where somebody supposedly has the magic to fix anything and can't fix world hunger. And I think Reed and Sue would always realistically believe that whatever Doom is doing, there is some dark southern plantation-like secret behind the beautiful cotton. You know what I mean? This amazing textile, it changed everything for the world. But think about the horrors that it took, that every piece of fabric was sewn in together with slavery. That's nightmarish. And but you're so right. It should be Johnny. It should be Ben. It should be maybe even my precious She-Hulk, who occasionally finds herself in wrong situations in these crossovers. You're right. It needs to be somebody who matters to Doom because Thor doesn't. But man, that Dormammu conceit is the best part for me because Dormammu is too big for Doom. And the fact that he banished Dormammu in a desperate way, having lost his leg. I mean, he's going to start a shrimp boat with Forrest Gump in a minute.
Yeah, that part, that was a great fight.
That was a great fight. And I rarely will give you a full issue fight like that.
Yeah,
but
that was
that 8.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And the fact, But again, I just that Dormammu is like, I know one secret is that you are you're not fighting me to your full potential, because if you did, you'd lose Sorcerer Supreme, and you can't do that. Like, you're a bad leader, and I'm not going to tell anybody that. Like, I just don't quite know how we get anywhere, and that's the only reason why I want it to be Reed who agrees with him, because that's new. You are
You're
correct.
right.
You are 100% correct insofar as Reed is smart enough to know the truth, which is that the world can't be fixed. You can't do these things. But
I hear the compelling argument you're making.
Yeah, like, I don't. Maybe he has a crisis of conscience and heart, and even though he's smart enough to know otherwise, he bends to this idea that, like, it's happening, and he just for once wants, again, children not to be going hungry. He has not solved world hunger, and he's tired, and somebody does it, and he just breaks a little bit. I don't know, something new. But, like, as soon as Secret War starts and Battle World starts, Reed immediately goes like, no, Doom can't be the person that saved the Omniverse. He obviously fucked up. We have to go oppose him. And it's, again, he's not that he's wrong, but it's boring every time. If the idea is every time Doom does an enormous thing that is scary, he's the world's biggest fuck up and can't actually do it right, well, then he's kind of just like a comedic, like, Thor versus Loki book. Like,
Yeah.
he's just kind of a pratfaller. And then and so I go into this book and I'm never scared. I'm never compelled. I'm never like, but what if Doom has a point? What if he actually is doing what he says? And that's why a lot of this is going to hinge on what Maria Hill reveals the smoking gun to be, because the scene with Valeria was really beautiful. The scene where he takes Valeria and he's like, I would never lie to you. I am doing this for glory, like, because I want to be the person that saved the world, but I'm saving the world. And when it turns out, that it is like the ones who walk away from Omelis situation, where there's like one child that just has to suffer in perpetual torment in order for this world to exist, then it's gonna suck. Like, it's just gonna be like, oh, another one of his things that he's, he flew too close to the sun. He was too egomaniacal. He loved Sue too much. He hated Reed too much. He wanted a new face too much. All these things that just happen every time. That's where I'm just a little bit like, even though this is good, it really could be better if Marvel would take some big risks.
Big risks is the name of the game, I think. I really do love your perspective, because, like, I don't make this show with you because you're so handsome. I love looking at you, but, like, I make it because you're brilliant. And one of the things that I love about the way you look at things differently than I do is I see, not to be, a cunning linguist at you, but, like, I think of things a little bit like the Spanish language does. Beauty is a permanent status. Someone is never not beautiful. The Spanish language treats beauty as a permanent status. And so I treat Reed as permanently brilliant. I don't really see people's blind spots well. It's my blind spot, ironically. So I hear where you're coming from, and it really is that term you just used, big swings. It would take some big swings to really compel this book somewhere interesting. I was really glad to see the I'm not sure if I would call it a spoiler, because I feel that in a lot of ways, we've already said it was predetermined. But we know that Doom is going to fall, and he's going to fall pretty aggressively before the end of One World Under Doom. And some of the materials that they have released via SDCC, which of course stands for So Do Cool Comics, they said that essentially, what's coming. It has been set up. And I think for me, the moment where you understood that this is not the Doom you think you're used to working with, Doom does not run away. So when the battle with Dormammu ended with him going, I gotta get out of here, that was not really Doom thinking he was the biggest winner. You know, a lot of us like to think we're big guys, and like, you know, I do tend to think that I'm a physically large man, and then I meet somebody who is 7'3", and I'm like, oh well, I'm not that big, am I? And I think no, actually, in the real world, I'm in like the top 2%, top 3% of height. Actually, like, it's just there's a lot of people who are taller because there's a lot of people. So no matter what percentage you're in, there's a lot of people. And Doom is a top 1% human, but he's not an ancient force. And to see him know to run from a Dormammu, what else has he run from? Did he run from Mephisto at some point? Did he run from Eternity at some point? Did he run from what elder gods has he run from before?
He didn't run from the Beyonders, man.
Well, I mean, in this run?
No, I mean, like...
Well, and that's what I'm saying. How many times has he run? Because we know he's a magician, but literally Dormammu gives us such a revealing line.
Yeah.
He's just escaped he's just forgotten, ignored the duties of a true sorcerer supreme to do his own thing. So I want to know how many times that's happened. How many times has he used time magic to escape a fuck up? And is it all going to come crashing down? Is it all going to come due? And does it bring us back to a moment in Blood Hunt? Does it bring us back to a moment? Where did Doom do the whatever he did that they've told us he did to make this happen? I'm curiouser and curiouser about it.
I guess we'll find out.
You know, the only other Fantastic Four book left to really talk about, if you've exhausted your others, is the Matt Fraction First Steps first issue. How are you feeling about that one? Ooh, okay.
I did not I oftentimes will like barrel through the first couple pages so that I don't see who wrote it, because I have this tendency to like pick up a Morrison book, you know, read it and like find a line and be like, oh, that's so classic Morrison. I know him so well. And then I'll read an interview and he'll be like, the one line I didn't write was, and it's the line that I'm like, that was classic Morrison. And I'm like, man, I'm such a fucking idiot. So a lot of times I really try and like not go in and read who the writer is, so I don't bring my own stupid preconceived notions to this. And I just remember thinking, first I was wondering if it was the people who wrote First Steps, the movie, and just they were not good comics writers. And then I was like, no, this feels like it was like written by maybe like a first timer or like a young gun or somebody just kind of new. And then I finally get to the end and it's Matt Fraction
with Mark Buckingham on art,
which that also was a surprise because this book did not read in any way good for me. It really, I love the idea of like, you know, having the comic book supplement the time that we don't see for the Fantastic Four origin. I think that's a really fun thing. It also sort of, you know, industry wise makes me then go to this idea of like, okay, well then did we need to reset Fantastic Four, the main continuity comic? Because this is the book that people could pick up. You know, this is the book that a moviegoer could pick up and have some. I mean, I get that they want the moviegoers to go into the 616 comics universe and pick up those books as well. So I get why you have to start at number one. But this is a great thing to read if you loved Fantastic Four the movie in concepts. It's not a great thing to read because it's just not very good. I don't even know what to say. It's Matt Fraction. I sort of didn't realize Matt Fraction did not very good. I didn't realize that was in his wheelhouse. I don't really know what to do with this at all. Like it just wasn't very good.
Yeah, you know, and it's actually really funny because I forgot about another fucking title that I did not think was very good. I thought this was clunky. It read a little bit, like you're saying, heavy-handed.
Mm.
I didn't necessarily get like the worst first-time writer vibes from it, but something that I definitely got was an effort to not actually tell a unique story.
Yeah.
It sought to piece together. It's something that I've been talking about with TK and with Kevo, and of course Tori, who is the original editor on the title. When Kid Riot all kicked off for the first time, it was a project of love, and one of the things that we struggled with at times was that we were 4 people trying to churn out a comic. Kevo, if you want to hop on at any time, we were 4 people trying to churn out a comic that we really loved, and Kid Riot was such a passion work. And sometimes the fact that we had a penciler doing this after, co-creator, but doing this after work, and then they did the inks, and then, it was this thing where like we hit this wall where there was an exhaustion. And so you needed this mixed media like this project is, where there's some prose, there's some images, there's some comics. And like, that's something you do when you're trying to build a universe, but like as a tie-in to a movie, prose feels a little bit like when I got the novelization of Three Ninjas Knuckle Up from a dollar bookstore.
And don't get me wrong, I loved those. I love Kathy East Dubowski. I grew up on a lot of her work. But no, I know exactly what you're saying. That does feel kind of weird. It feels a little bit more juvenile. And it feels like a little bit too low effort, especially because something that we talk about a lot on X's for Show, something we've talked about on HTML, is how many more substantive tie-ins there have been. There's that whole web show for Ant-Man with Leslie Bibb as her character from Iron Man 1, doing Newsnight or Nightfront or whatever their news show is, as like little webisodes.
Yeah.
There's that there's a Spider-Man commercial series where it was an NBA tie-in, and they're trying to get there for the tip-off, and Robert Downey Jr. is in it. When you have stuff with that sort of effort, and the most you can do there is prose, it does sort of feel inequitable.
And I love that word inequitable, because that's one of the things that I feel like happens a lot with stuff that ties into these movies, stuff that is meant to support these films. You get into a position where they're not given the same weight. They don't matter the same way. And so, as much as I feel like if people pick up an old issue of Kid Riot and they're like, wow, there's 8 pages of prose in this one, you're going to go, right. And you know what? The back matter says we were 4 poor artists doing this after 12-hour shifts. That's not what this mixed media project is. And if what you wanted to do was do a Life and Times Time Magazine style, Time Magazine Fantastic Four thing, then do that.
Yeah.
Don't pretend it's the tie-in comic.
Yeah. I think that would have been the better thing to do, honestly.
Yeah, that would have been spectacular. That would have like gone down memorably.
Yeah.
I actually forgot, because I did not enjoy it so much. There was also Marvel Fanfare Fantastic Four 1 through 3. I like a lot of the creators on it, but you know what I didn't like? The unevenness. I thought this was so all over the place. This was genuinely a bigger mess than these usually are. I had to give this one a C-. This was not my thing.
Yep, I think that's exactly the right grade. Yeah, I mean, it was entirely all over the place, and I didn't take anything away from it that was new or special.
No, and that's why it was so frustrating that it was so many of like the greats of all time. Because like you've got Mark Waid on here, you've got, for all the ways that he is problematic and complicated to talk about, you've got Alan Davis on here, you've got some of the biggest names, you've got Dustin Weaver, John Hickman. I just didn't dig it. I just felt like it did not need my time.
Yep.
So, but like with that all said, on the whole, I kind of can't believe it. We're in an era where Fantastic Four has like a line. Now, again, half of it is children's books. Speaking of children's books, there's another Mark Samarak, Garahiru, Franklin. I root for these. I think they're great. I struggle to understand how they make money, personally, because they just feel like more of the same thing every single time they do them.
Yep.
But if that works for them, it works for them.
Yep. I feel the same way. It's not for me. Like literally, it's not published for me. But if they are making money, sure. If there are kids that are into it, sure. I mean, it's the first family. There should be kids involved, and it should be family friendly. And if they can get there, I like that. I think for me, if this is a line, somebody needs a solo book. And I think it's probably Sue.
Such a brave choice. I love that.
And then I think it's time for Franklin and Valeria to have a book. Like, make this a line. You know what I mean? Like, it was one thing when they started doing Future Foundation, I was so excited because I was like, again, I'm always like, what's the ecosystem? When they started doing Spider-Geddon, Spider-Verse, Spider-Man became an ecosystem. You started having, spiders of like not quite a theme, but like kind of a theme. And now we have things like Dream Spider, one of my absolute favorites. Oh, by the way, Taboo and B. Earl just got picked up for a book, and I forgot to talk to you about it, but it's coming up. It's something good. I gotta go look up what it is, but it's a Marvel book, and we'll talk about it. And I'm excited. But you have things like Dream Spider. You have things like, pulling Spider-Man from Japan who has a mech, and so we can what?
It's Ultimate Hawkeye.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
My god, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I
love that they are always available. I love that they are resources for Marvel, because they are very good at what they do.
Yes,
where's their crossover event?
They create horror comics like nobody's business.
Yeah, and they really understand native stories and native voices, and but yeah, I get excited about ecosystems, and so when they had the Future Foundation, I was like, this means that everybody is a Fantastic Four member now. FF just became a different thing, and so you can have books about other stuff, and they never really did anything with it. It just it was what it was. And now I'm just like, if this is a line, they shouldn't all be Fantastic Four, First Steps, Fantastic Four, Fanfare, the Herbie kids book. Like, let's really branch out. Let's make, we should have the kids books. Absolutely. But then like, there should be a teens book. There should be a Franklin and Valeria book that is for, 9 to 14-year-olds.
Herbie ain't.
Right. Exactly. A book that you turn Franklin and Valeria into what Kamala Khan and Miles. I know that Franklin and Valeria are both white, so they don't have that going for them. But something that kids read and they're like, I want to be cool like Franklin and Valeria. Like I want to have powers and go on adventures with my sibling.
Yeah.
Get a Sue book, and just let's turn this into a line, not just like, how many different ways can Ben say clobbering time?
It feels like you want your ability to control the way this is presented, the way it's seen, the way it interacts, and yet one of the things that works for Wolverine is every single book Wolverine can do something ridiculous. Wolverine has very few limits. If you tell me in a title Wolverine can regenerate from a drop of blood, I have to believe you. If you tell me in a side title Wolverine can take on 1,000 ninjas all by himself, I have to believe you. If you tell me in a joke book Wolverine is a yo-yo champion, I have to believe you. But nobody ever asks for anything of that for the Fantastic Four except Reed is the smartest, Sue has the strongest will to love, Johnny is a goofball with a heart of gold, and the Thing has reserves of strength we'll never understand. Instead of allowing each of them to be anything they need to be, each of them gets to be any one thing because they share a team. I think that is ultimately where the Fantastic Four, as a product fails. If you gave one book, it was like Sue and the Fantastic Four, great. If the next book was Future Foundation featuring Reed Richards, great. If the next book was Fantastic Four Adventures featuring Johnny and Thing, and all of the books mostly featured all of them, but it was always a different four of their giant side characters, you'd always be fine. What do I know? I don't actually have the sales data, so I sure hope like somebody like doesn't come yell at us in the comments. But anyway, all right, DC. All right, distinguished competition. Let's do it. I wish that I could tell the difference between Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps. I cannot. It's one big book. And that is a little bit the danger when you have a title that is very clearly meant to be the extension book to facilitate the
primary book.
I even hesitate to say primary book because I feel like you can't convince me it's the primary book. You can convince me that there's several books that are all doing the same thing, but I'm kind of lost. I feel like they ran great guns in the campaign. I wanted a Democrat, but I got them. This is exactly the Civil Core War again. And then I thought it was the Fractured Spectrum War. And then as soon as that was over, now we're into the, what is this one? The Starbreaker War? And it's
supremacy.
just, I feel over and over like it's the exact same story. And you're telling me it's different. And I respect that you feel from the inside like it's a different arc. But the bad guys all feel very similar. And so as much as I actually, for the sake of being a big Green Lantern fan, do enjoy like everything that's happening, and I enjoy it. I don't think it's brilliant. I think these books suffer from being one big book that doesn't do what one book would do. Instead it does, I guess it does what one book would do, but it's telling me it's a line and it's not.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it all. I love like an X-Men blue team and an X-Men gold team, and they're both kind of in and out of the books and saying like, oh well, Jean's off in Madripoor, so like we're gonna go be doing this in our book, and it's like almost that, except they're just too intertwined. They're so intertwined, and you literally can't read one without the other. And there's like that also could be okay, but to me, I guess the difference is Joe is in Green Lantern Corps and not in Green Lantern. That's it. It's just like Joe and Jess. Is it Jess? Yeah, Joe and Jess are in Green Lantern Corps and not in Green Lantern. That's the only thing.
It seems to be it, because now the storylines from Green Lantern Corps are over in Green Lantern.
Right, which like it doesn't have to be the worst thing ever, but like it would be more interesting if it was Green Lantern. I mean, like, because at first I thought it was going to be a little bit. There's no theme difference. Like that's the big thing. Is like if one book were a procedural cop drama and the other one were a space western, then maybe they would. And I think that's what Jeremy Adams thinks he's doing, but that's not what's actually happening. And I brought up Joe and Jess because there's like the hint of an angle that this is like where the admin Green Lanterns do admin work, but like of course that's a boring idea and nobody wants to watch a comic book about admins doing office work.
Nobody wants to watch a sitcom about people working at a paper company.
Well, if they have Green Lantern rings, we probably don't want to watch them do that.
Actually, I was going to say nobody does actually want to watch that. What people wanted to watch was people being funny, and nobody here can be funny. They're literally just characters in a book. The Office didn't work because everybody loved Dunder Mifflin.
Right.
The Office worked because everybody loved the actors.
And so I don't know what the point is of separating these books out when they absolutely can't be separated out when it comes to informing each other and setting up a larger plot. And then that's like what Joe and everybody else are. Well, it's what everybody's up to. But then like stuff happens, like we get the greatest like sub story of all time. You know what I'm about to say.
Can I just say that when the two of them appeared, I lost my breath. I literally thought it was the coolest. You get to say it because you brought it up. It was the single coolest follow-up on a storyline ever.
No, you get to say your thing. I want you to say it.
Stinson shows up. It is the Sinister Sons. They show up and they're like protecting they're protecting Karagar, and they altruistically love it because they've been shown kindness, and it makes Sinestro proud of his son. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
It was so good.
It was one of the best things I've ever seen in a Green Lantern comic, kind of sort of bar none.
It was so good. And it's just a great little storyline, which is really relevant to this broader storyline, because what Sinestro is doing is going to go pick up resources to build power batteries, which is a thing that they're doing in both books.
Yep.
Which is now coming to larger fruition in the Green Lantern book, is the most recent one where we're actually lighting the power batteries. But then when the next Green Lantern Corps book comes out, spoiler alert, there was a problem lighting the batteries.
Oh no.
Can you believe it? And I know the Green Lantern Corps book is then going to follow up on that fact that there were problems lighting the batteries, and they're going to have to do other stuff. So the plot is bouncing back and forth between the books, and that's cool, but it's messy, it's confusing. And they just might as well be the same book, because when the plot goes over to the other one, it's not refracted in any interesting way. For one thing, I don't think Jeremy Adams should be writing both books.
I could not agree more.
I don't mind, like, I don't mind that there is an overarching plot, and I don't even mind if he gets co-writing credits with somebody else, because this plot is so complicated and he's writing it across two books. But it's just his voice, and again, like it's like the idea of a gesture at a theme. It is not a theme, it's not an angle, it's not it's not an anything. The main Green Lantern book has going for it that Hal is really the face of the Green Lanterns that hang out at the Watchtower, and Carol hangs out there too because she is finally ready to be a hero. I mean, really, it's Carol's book. Like, if it's Carol's book, then it's two different books. And
if it's Carol and Hal even.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But then it's not, because you have to do things like light the power batteries, and that's everybody. But like, also, like, they just bring Guy Gardner and Kilowog with them, which is cool. I like Guy Gardner and Kilowog going with them, but then it's like,
you poozer.
Those people are also showing up in Green Lantern Corps. I mean, like, it's a big old mess. It's got some really cool ideas. It's really fun. Hal and Carol are a lot of fun. There's a lot of funny dialogue. The Simpson and Lorzod Sinestro dialogue is all really good. The fact that Lorzod is just in love with the Tamaranian Green Lantern is so funny. It's just the funniest, cutest thing ever. It's just like, there's a lot of great. I smile throughout the book, like, and
it truly is marvelous, personally.
Yeah, and there's some like great Hal and Carol development. Again, like the idea that Carol is just like, I for the first time, I'm Star Sapphire is just so weird. I don't know why DC is doing this, but again, I'm not going to give them too hard a time because Marvel's just sitting there doing it with the Thing. But yeah, like they have this like important talk about their relationship, and then there's this hilarious moment where the criminals that they have stopped are like, can you please just take us to prison? We do not want to be sitting here for this. So like Jeremy Adams is a funny guy. He writes well. But yeah, like we have been on this idea that the emotional spectrum is broken. There's no power batteries. Oh wait, there's some power batteries. Alan Scott is in the mix for Lantern ideas. I'm confused how the government situation is working out now. I'm confused because there's no Owen still, but like the bad dudes who were running the government in place of the Owens are like not doing that anymore, but they're also running a government and it's opposed to the Green Lantern. It's all a lot. It's all very confusing.
I'm very tired.
I'm very tired. And we've got Bitch Boy Lantern in the mix too, just constantly. I love him. I'm obsessed with him.
Nathan?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the worst. It's so fun.
He is the kind of character that this fandom is gonna make an amazing superhero out of in like 6 years, and he's gonna wind up gay with Alan, and we're gonna love it.
Sure. I mean I like him now. He's very funny. But then, you know, I get where the threat is. Anyway, it's not bad, but it is not amazing. And you can see where it doesn't have to have the problems that it has. Like these are semi self-inflicted wounds.
And you know, for me, one of the things that I find so interesting about where Green Lantern is we have 2 Green Lantern. I don't want to call them side titles because I feel like side titles is kind of an unfair term for it. They are 2 Green Lantern revisionist universe ideas. We have Absolute Green Lantern, which seeks to do the most, I even want to say genuine and linear iteration of Green Lantern possible. Everything is a Green Lantern character. The things that are not Green Lantern characters are not so far out of the Green Lantern wheelhouse. You are not getting hit with some unthinkable iteration of some unimaginable thing. That said, I'm struggling a little bit with Green Lantern Dark. I do personally feel that Green Lantern Dark was possibly Wicked fanfic before it was Green Lantern fanfic. I think we're just playing down the Galinda and making Elphaba's magic the green flame. But then the bad guy is the Bat Wraith, who is a female bat specter. Okay, you know what? You can make that work for me if you loop it through the fact that Alan had Gotham at the exact same time Bruce did, but that does not feel like that's the intent here. I like Green Lantern Dark. The truth is, I probably would have liked it more if it was named New England Horror, the Lamplighter. And I probably would have bought it because that name would get me to buy something. But I understand that few people take chances on indie books like I do. And I genuinely think this was too good an idea to just stick in someone else's franchise.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're of the exact same mind here. This isn't a Green Lantern book like the Lantern Corps that has rings, and this isn't a Green Lantern book like Alan Scott who carries a magical lantern. This is closer to Alan Scott who carries a magical lantern, but it's just not that.
Yeah, because I mean, Kelly Clarkson's My December is closer to Skinny Puppy than is her album Breakaway, but I'm not exactly saying that I can see the direct connection.
Well, it's a person carrying a green lantern. So listen, okay, you got me.
You got me now.
It's a green lantern. I'm not gonna. I can't argue with you too much there. But yeah, I mean, this is it is semi Eldritch horror Cthulhu mythos type setting. They're in Providence. So there's this New England thing, and then randomly we just have visual connections to DC's Green Lantern, but again, it's just the visual connection of the idea of a lantern. They're two very different kinds of lanterns. So like even that, what are we doing? And then we have Bat Wraith, who does legitimately look like one of the Bat fam, but is a spooky ghost.
I think.
Who knows? We'll find out. And that's it. Otherwise, it is, as you said, it's kind of its own original story. The character is very cool. But like you said, I get it. Like, people aren't going to buy indie books, and you put Green Lantern on this, and it seems like a Green Lantern book. This one is particularly surprising because, like Boy One isn't really a Robin book. Like, it's not Robin in Gotham, like on a mission. It's very stylized. It's very esoteric.
Yeah.
And it could be called something else and slightly change the character and be an indie title. Like, it could not be about Robin. But they call it Boy Wonder, and it really is pretty connected to the Batman franchise. This Green Lantern book kind of, I don't know. Like, it's not, you can't bring this character into continuity or ever say like, and then this is how that same power eventually became Alan Scott's. This is just a totally separate thing. It has nothing to do with anything. It's a very cool title, but I don't otherwise know what to do with it. As like, this is not going to come up for us in any discussion that we have about Green Lantern. Otherwise, it's not going to come up about in the amalgam conversation. If we ever do a podcast about derivations of the Cthulhu mythos, I might like stick this in the footnotes because it does feel like that. But
thank you. I just want to mention that with Kevo's help today, I've realized that because like Chitanian actually refers to something that belongs to my people, the Greeks. And that's just not clear enough. And then Lovecraftian just sort of means like all of his works, the racist ones included. So I've decided that we should refer to anything about the Cthulhu mythos as Cthulhulian. And I just think that should really catch on.
Yeah, I love that.
Cthulhulian. I just think that's where it's at.
Sold.
But I actually do really love that because the energy of the narration, the energy of the reaction for me is that I do feel like this is kind of a dark magic book that deals in big, bad, ugly. It is too good for this. It does not belong here. I am disappointed by how it feels like it's kind of being strangled. Yeah, if you just didn't have to throw in so much Green Lantern, I think it would be a good book.
I really do wonder if this ever was a totally not Green Lantern pitch, and they were like, "We'll buy it from you, but you gotta color the lantern green and make it a Bat Wraith."
I truly have to wonder, and it's at a personal loss, I think, because I would love this more if it was not a thing that was trying to be something else that I loved.
Yeah.
I had a recently similar experience with Ultimate X-Men. So,
yeah.
Generally, I think that the Green Lantern titles deserve like a combined B, but kind of like a B minus because there's no beginning and no ending. Unfortunately, I feel like I lose out on Green Lantern Dark and kind of have to give it a C. It doesn't make my heart sing. It doesn't elevate my experience. It's a pleasant title that does extraordinary things, but it does not bear the torch of Green Lantern. And so I just would really love to have seen Tate Bromble given an opportunity to do something unique.
I agree.
Okay. I'm going to talk about the book that I would have loved to have given Book of the Month because I am a Jeff Lemire fanboy. Alan Scott. I mean, like, I would love to know what that beard feels like everywhere. But okay. I feel like if you ask me my JSA knowledge, I would say that I'm a moderate JSA fan. If you ask me my Green Lantern knowledge, I would say I'm an extraordinary Green Lantern fan. If you ask me, before today, did I know that this is only the second ever book to be Indica named JSA? And the only ever title that shared it was the one that like Morrison eventually wrote into that started in 99? No, I wouldn't have known that. You know who did? Jeff Lemire. Oh my God. When this man is good at something, I mean, he really is. Like, I have often said that I think he is the inheritor of Chris Claremont's crown. I just think he's like one of the, like, literally, like, Essex County changed me as a man. I decided to become a better person after I read it. Like, actually, like, I went on this journey of I need to be a good man for like a decade after I read that book. His work, whether it's Sweet Tooth or his work steeped in realism, he just understands how I feel on paper. And I thought every line of dialogue did that here. But the functional difficulty I ran into was every line of dialogue was also seeking to explore emotional undercurrents that were buried in these characters across the course of a century. I don't have any of that backup. So I don't get anything happening in this book. I love it. It's so cool. I don't understand what's happening at all.
Well, that's fascinating because I just assumed that I didn't have the knowledge and that you did.
This one is like a deep lorist book. This one's really, really tough, Deke.
Yeah. And I mean, I had kind of a similar thing. You know, I really liked it. It's one of those books where I really feel like Kenneth Parcell. Like, I'm just happy to be among friends. And
my accent, it do come out.
I there's a lot I did not understand. And
bless your bravery.
You know, but I was kind of thinking, like, when was the last time we had a solid Invaders book?
Jim Kruger. Avengers vs. Invaders, and there was a tinfoil hat, and I mean when a men's an empty kettle, right? Like that level of tinfoil hat. That the reason that they delayed and then rushed the return of Captain America was because there was a contractual agreement that while Alex Ross's Avengers vs. Invaders, which actually is a great book, it's a lot of fun. While that was coming out, Marvel could not return Captain America from the dead. And that's why, like, all of a sudden they rush out a ton of Return of Captain America. And other than that, it's been shades of that. Dude, you just made me really think about some... Wow, I'd never even really thought about that. What a great parallel. Invaders to JSA.
Yeah, I mean, because like the flagship team is the Justice League. No matter what, it's the Justice League. It's Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. But there were things before that. There were things more important than that to people, and there are heroes that matter that came, from that same world. And similarly, like the Avengers are the flagship team, and of course Steve is a crossover character. Captain America is a crossover character, but the Avengers are the flagship team. The Avengers are the Earth's mightiest heroes, ones everybody knows. But the Invaders were first. The Invaders were, and they're all still around. Like Namor is absolutely still around. Jim Hammond, we don't see that much, but we do have Ultimate Jim Hammond these days, so like he's around. Anyway, like we could do a Defenders book, and there would be a lot of stuff in there that they could reference that I would not get.
Agreed. Same.
But it would really be fun. And it looks like they did all new Defenders in 2014, which I kind of don't even count because that it wasn't the original lineup.
And that was out of the Secret Wars. Everything is gonna reset or has been reset era, and I mean this with with like an actual great admiration for everybody who wrote during that era, being friends with some of the people who did. That was not an era where you thought your stories would ultimately survive.
Right. But yeah, I mean, it would be, I would have a lot of fun seeing that again, seeing, a version of the Invaders again. And I think I could really see it playing out similarly to the way, JSA is playing out right now.
I love that, because one of the things that I felt about this book was a true desire to create a world where these characters matter to modern audiences. I've always loved Jade. I didn't know who she was. She was in all of my Green Lantern posters. I just wanted to be cool, and I wanted all the Green Lantern fans to like me. And I thought that it would make me, I guess, metalhead friends. I don't know. People don't care about like those characters, but I do think that the overall thing for me with these titles is that we are getting sort of like bogged down in where JSA is going and where it's been. And the problem is guys like Jeff Lemire are trying to create books that are epic. They're trying to create books that have a limitless reach for these titles. And what you wind up with is why can't I think of his name? Watton as this sort of like weird dark elf Belasco guy. I don't know. I think that one of the problems is Jeff Lemire is being asked to create a JSA book that not just does the function of a JSA book, but creates an ongoing JSA book by doing what JSA has always done. TK, have you ever read or watched a JSA interpretation where the story isn't the end of the universe?
That's a very good question. I guess not.
And then this one's called Ragnarok.
Yeah.
That's where even I was kind of going with the metalhead thing. Like it feels like JSA are Death, Doom, and Despair for the Betty Page tattoo genre. And like, I love it. This is the kind of stuff I thought was cool when I was a kid. But I'm sometimes worried that incredibly talented writers like Jeff Lemire can't get out from under the weight of what has shaped the experience of these characters before. So you push for these ideas to go somewhere, but where can this go? What can JSA become? We already know that those characters are Infinity Inc., and they're actually the younger next generation. They're not really JSA. So what are you saying? Like they're going to get absorbed and become like a partner team? Cool. So what are you doing? Is the next generation of JSA just the previous next generation of JSA who got a new name, but you're going to change their name? So your cool change to the JSA is changing someone else's name? That's not at Jeff Lemire. That's at a sense that it feels like DC is unwilling to let JSA advance the way they'll let Absolute advance. I would love to see JSA be as brave as you're saying that the Fantastic Four need to be. Can I ask you a serious question?
Yeah.
You just read 9 issues of JSA. How many references were there to the fact that Alan Scott is a homosexual man with an eternally lost lover that he can't let go of, to the point where it came up in other books this year?
Yeah, it does come up quite a lot. But then I also appreciate that we talk a lot to and about his children.
Oh, and his kids are so great. Like, I think that Obsidian is a character that if someone like you, with your voice, with your clear vision for defining a character, would do a Books of Magic-esque treatment on, we would wind up with an iteration that works for a modern audience. I get a little bit concerned that a lot of these JSA characters ask us not to move past what we expect and just sort of see, oh, well, this character is based on a character from the 40s, so they're never going to do anything exciting. If that were the case, then Parallax would have never been based on a Green Lantern. So I don't think that exactly is the thread. But I think what I'm more interested in right now is if somebody could make an Avengers movie about the JSA. If somebody could make something as, and I'm just going to put it out there for 1 second. We don't have to talk about it. It could just be a whisper. Oh my God, Sandman Season 2 is one of the most compelling TV shows I've ever watched in my life. It is destroying the Netflix ratings to the point where Netflix is burying how well it is doing. Obviously, Neil Gaiman is a predator, the likes of which should battle Alien. But I think that, you can take a look at something classic and reinvent it in a really exciting way. You can take Sandman, which at this point 40 years old, but is referencing comics that were then 40 years old, and reinvent them in compelling, exciting ways. And they've laid the groundwork with guys like Alan Scott having exciting internal lives. And while Wildcat is Wildcat, you've seen the work they've done with guys like Wildcat. You've seen the extrapolation of I'm the tough guy with no powers. And we've seen where it can go. Just look at Hawkeye, the TV show. So I do feel like you are so right, dude. Like, we need to see this stuff become a little bit more accessible.
And it's really funny. Somehow this now comes back to Lovecraft again, because that has been one of my references for dealing with the Sandman situation. I also really love the Sandman TV show. You guys can't see it on TV most of the time, or on screen most of the time, but I have an enormous dream tattoo. I don't have a good angle for that, but yeah, I have an enormous Dream tattoo. Dream is a very important character to me, and over this last week, you've watched a lot of fitness influencers take a ton of shit for remembering Hulk Hogan fondly upon his death, because he mattered to them when they were kids, and he was the reason they wanted to turn into big guys. So when he died, they wanted to say something nice about him. And I understand where
I love saying nice things about transphobes.
That's and racists. Like, that's the thing. Is like, I don't
fuck
the fact that Neil Gaiman created a character that really matters to me. I'm never going to praise Neil Gaiman. The character matters to me, and I will talk to you about Dream, and I will talk to you about Sandman, but I'm never going to say ever again that Neil Gaiman is a great man. I'm going to say that Sandman is a story that influenced me. And I also will talk to you at length about how much H.P. Lovecraft's work has influenced me. And I'm obsessed with it. I write Cthulhu Mythos fan fiction. It's not even fan fiction anymore. It's just work that you do in the Cthulhu Mythos. But like, it's so easy because I can't ever give money to H.P. Lovecraft and his weird, racist, horrible agenda. No matter how much stuff I buy that is related to what H.P. Lovecraft wrote, it's never going to go to benefit him or or the agenda that he has. I will never buy a Harry Potter thing again because that money would go to J.K. Rowling. And I'm
because a whole generation of people decided that Letterman's jackets were cool.
And I'm not buying Neil Gaiman stuff, and I'm not, I'll tell you here now, I pirated all of Sandman because I'm not going to watch it on Netflix and give him the numbers. But
well, as you explained to us, he doesn't get those numbers anyway.
It's true, but just to be safe, I don't ever want Netflix thinking that it was so good it's worth working with him again.
It's worth working with Dead Boy Detectives, though. Work with Dead Boy Detectives. Literally. Oh my God, this is so fucking annoying. This is 3 perfect seasons of television. I am filled with a rage that I usually reserve for politics, and it is. I can taste mercury on my tongue. I am
we talked about this with Buffy. Like the same thing goes for Joss Whedon. I don't want to give Joss Whedon money, but like Sarah Michelle Gellar is working on this show. So many people who were not Joss Whedon worked on the original Buffy, and if we look at the actors alone, who are all seemingly wonderful people, a lot of the other writers in the writers' room I think there were great people all around. Joss Whedon is not the only one, but he does have an outsized influence on that show and potentially has an outsized influence in making money. So it's a tough thing to look at. It's a really tough thing to do with Neil Gaiman's work. And again, like I said, like the work fundamentally informed and changed me. I now that work is in me now. It's for me to digest and to have been influenced by that's where it lives, and that's what matters. I no longer, somebody else who I absolutely love and I'm so worried at all times is going to do this is Brandon Sanderson. And that's somebody who, like, I follow what he's doing. I've given him a ton of money. And I'm going to feel real bad if that goes tits up. But like, I continue to do so because I think he appears to be a good man with a good heart who has good intentions and does things well. But like, I sort of, that work also belongs in me and my interpretation of it and how it has affected me. But I also follow, the new work that he does and the things that he says. And, I pay attention to the way that he's influenced me as a writer. That's not really something I can do with Gaiman anymore. But when I look at something like Sandman, I do think about that thing of like, yeah, I mean, like, he wrote it, he originated it, and if it's going to outsizedly benefit him, I don't want to see it adapted anymore. But you're absolutely right. Something like Green Lantern, Alan Scott, so many of these classic things, so many of these classic properties that somebody like Neil Gaiman has interpreted, we can take that idea without ever going back to that man. And I love that as just kind of a pitch for what could happen with Alan Scott and the magical Green Lantern and just where we could go.
And I really think it's so important to consider that we're talking about Sandman, and one of the things that I think not enough people appreciate is The Unwritten by Mike Carey and Peter Gross, which is a flawless, in many ways, it's full of tons of mistakes, but flawless spiritual successor to the Sandman. It learns a lot of lessons because Mike Carey was the architect behind Lucifer, and Peter Gross was the architect behind the better issues of Books of Magic. John Nay Ryber did the best he could imitating Neil Gaiman, but it really wasn't until Peter Gross and Temujin would come on and redefine the series with esoteric art and very heavy Eastern influences. And so when that would go on to become the spiritual successor to Sandman at DC, people just sort of look away from it because it's labeled a successor. But you know what? Sandman is a successor to so many amazing things that came before it. And you know what? That is what Green Lantern Dark is. I really do hope that Green Lantern Dark is remembered better than I am talking about it. I hope that this run of JSA is remembered better than we're talking about it. I really want to see people come to understand that, like, even Stan Lee was aping, the best work of Will Eisner. Even, the best pages of Chris Claremont's Uncanny X-Men have reference, respect, and reverence for the books that came before them. And so we find ourselves in a position where we are compelled to talk about the books that fail us, right? And I think it's too easy to forget a good record and focus on the flop record that killed the career. And we focus on that perfect one, just to use Tori Amos because we're talking about Sandman. It's easy to point at Boys for Pele. It's easy to point at Scarlet's Walk and say what success is. It's harder to point at Midwinter Graces and say that was the moment that defined her career. But many of us erroneously point to records like To Venus and Back, which actually took the longest to hit platinum of the records that did, and say, oh, look, what a success, because we remember seeing it everywhere. But seeing something everywhere and seeing it succeed are two different things. I am personally a little disappointed to hear that the numbers have put Fantastic Four domestically just behind Superman. I liked Fantastic Four just a little more, so I would have liked to have seen it do just a little better. But when we take a look at these two companies, they're doing the same thing. It's a victory across the board for all of comics. I'm just glad that we did this sort of like look at cosmic level Earth heroes, and that it was super rewarding.
Super rewarding.
Final thoughts, hit me.
Final thoughts, whether it's the First Family or Space Cops, when you've got a line, you got to figure out what makes it unique and special. And I think that's something both of these are not quite getting right. But not quite getting it right in the line, but in the books themselves, you can see that there are so many great creative minds who know. And that's really fun.
And it's so important to think about the creative minds who know. Next week, we're going to be talking about things like Green Lantern, Silver Surfer, Unholy Alliances, the crossover that kicks off Marvel vs. DC. We're going to take a look at the Ash Can that they dropped, the Whose Side Are You On? That'll be really exciting. And after that, we're going to be taking a look at some major crossovers going on between the two companies. Things like the We Are Yesterday event and new history of the DC universe over at DC. Plus things like the Alien vs. Avengers and Predator vs. Spider-Man. And if I have the time, I might be like, oh, I read DC vs. Kong, and then be like, let's talk about that, but probably not because I'm a very sleepy man. I'm sleepy all the time. But one of the places that I know that we are going to have to start looking is one day we're going to have to say to ourselves, oh shit, these two companies have interacted with Alien. These two companies have interacted with Predator. These two companies actually have shared crossover universes. And then all bets are off, man. But I actually after this, I'm done with crossovers. I probably just want to like sit in the 2099 for a minute.
I'm down.
Like that's like 400 issues. You can just get through it, be done. That's a good time. I think Doom 2099 is a heavy influence on the state of things in the Marvel universe with Doom now. So I'll be really excited to talk about that.
Hell yeah.
All right, people like you. You're cool. You're handsome. Where can they find you?
You can find me on the socials at TK Accidental. Where can everybody find you?
Nico Action, NICOACTION. But there's a producer, and he runs this show. Kevo, you put this thing together. You make it work. Where can we find you? And what do we have coming up?
Oh, what do we have coming up? Well, you kind of hinted at it a little bit, but I guess we are probably going to be coerced by you into covering Alien Earth. So I'm sure we'll have something to say on that. Like you guys mentioned, we have our Fantastic Four coverage that we just did. I don't know if we planned on doing a fuller coverage of Sandman. You know, there's things to say. We'll see how we feel after High Cost of Living comes out tomorrow.
Maybe
If
the
it is-
Chiron can just read "fuck gaming" the entire time while we talk about it.
But what about Kirby and all the other people who put in all the hard work? So I don't know. We'll see. There's that. We have Project Runway starting this week since we don't have Drag Race. Where is it? Where is any Drag Race? So we're definitely going to be going whole hog on Project Runway. This has been such a weird. I was talking to our correspondent Tori today a little bit about season 16 and how everything has been so weird since then. So definitely join us for that. Yeah, cool stuff. Cool summer. Check me out at Kevo Reeling.
Can't wait. And if you want to check out more of what we do, including the aforementioned Project Runway coverage that's coming up, you guys can check us out at X's for show, X's for podcast, X's for comics. If it's X's for, it is for us and for you. So like, comment, and subscribe so you can find out all the stuff we do for you. But 3 things that you guys can do for us. Please don't forget to, number 1, please stay safe. We think you're incredible. Number 2, please be brave, because it's what you are inside that makes you incredible. But number 3, evolve daily, because who you were yesterday, amazing. Who you are today, gorgeous. But it's who you are tomorrow that is stunwa. And we can't wait to be there. So until then, please stay brave, and we'll see you.